Hey guys, Stealth here. Today in Wargame, a 2v2 with one of the newer players. This is Cartres. And Cartres says in his description for the replay that he's only played 7 multiplayer matches. I'm not sure which one or how many he played in Skirmish, but he's at least made the leap to multiplayer gaming, which I think in Wargame is a very bold and brave move because there are so many veterans out there, there are so many players who know exactly what they're doing and who are very damn hard to beat. So a lot of people don't even make the leap. They just keep playing single player, either skirmish or campaign, and multiplayer just seems way out of reach. Anyway, we're here on 2v2, Apocalypse Imminent. He says he's very proud of it. He watched quite a few of my videos, so he knows a lot of the basics already. He says things to look out for. I micromanage low-cost combat air support planes and very high-cost combat air patrol / multi-roles extremely well. I think I recovered well from losses and unexpected pushes. With the exception of one instance, I micromanaged my radar AA very well. And my partner and I win by a margin of less than 500 points against ranked veterans. Yes, these guys possibly have played some ranked games. I'm seeing the On as a private, and I'm better at COH, so that's Company of Heroes probably, as a corporal. Means that they might have played some ranked, just not a lot of it. Things that didn't go well. He says, I'm still not an expert on how to transport units effectively and micromanage many units across the entire battlefield. The second bit, not being able to micromanage many units across the entire battlefield, that gets easier with practice. This is something that you just have to keep playing the game for. And he also says, as a new player, I'm careless with which units are using what weapons for specific targets. He's very eager to hear my feedback, and by extension, I'm also extending that invitation to you as the viewer. So what do you think he could be doing better? I'm going to be switching between neutral and Carter's units so that we can have a bit of a look at what's going on, what's he fielding, what's he starting out with, what's his objective, to see what sort of thinking he has, and we're going to switch to neutral every now and then to see what is going on the other side, so what has the enemy fielded. For starters, let's have a look at his starting units. BMP-3s, these guys have of course the long-range anti-tank missile, and considering that he's going over towards Gulf, ATGMs can work, so that's a unit I would be using myself as well. Tunguska M, we got a Plamia. Plamia is an okay unit. I think you can go a bit cheaper because the Plamia has a grenade launcher, which is nice, but you don't really need a grenade launcher at ranges such as these. The grenade launcher simply won't fire. So a simple BRDM2 might be good enough. Unless, of course, you want to go for something which has exceptional optics, which, well, you could make a case for if you have line of sight like this. Then he has Scrajets with ATGM infantry. I'm thinking those might be Milan, sorry, not Milans, Concours M, BMPT OBR 1986, 2 T55 AMVs, and 2 more. What I'm not seeing here is multiple units of reconnaissance and potentially a super heavy. Because while he may have ATGMs, what do you do when the enemy starts to field more than one heavy tank? A super heavy would be useful, especially at ranges such as these. And I'm thinking a T72 BU or a T80 UM, something which has a long range ATGM. Now, there is another thing that you could consider on this end, which is the fact that sometimes players will do a helo rush along Elena, over the lake or river, whichever you prefer, and then moving on to Jot. With one AA unit, that's going to be tricky. So you could consider, let's say, scrapping one of these tanks and instead going for another cheap AA unit or reconnaissance. Keep an eye on this one. As for the Tunguska, what I usually do is hotkey these units. So my hotkey, I'm not sure why I ever decided on it, but my hotkey for AA units is 5, and then I press H. Of course, with the Tunguska, you don't need to disable both weapon systems. You just need to disable the twin to a 38M. So that's the main gun. And the missiles will still fire autonomously. They don't need the radar. But at least that way your unit will not be taken out by seed. Now it looks like on the left we have Fat Grubber who's pushing up. He's already deployed one Strela group. And looks like they're about to have their hands full. A couple of stingers. And we have some transports coming in. Autocannons are not going to give these Spetsnaz a good time. He dropped them off a bit too soon. Anyways, back to the right flank. He's moving up his infantry. His Tunguska is moving off to the side. Let's see, where is he taking this bit of infantry? Because that's something that I'm very interested in. I'm thinking he's dropping it off here. Yes, okay. What I would do here is take your Motostrelki 90, keep it inside the BMP-2, and rush to this position. Because if you have your infantry in here, it's going to be very difficult for the enemy, and very difficult does not mean impossible, just more difficult. It's going to be more difficult for the enemy to cross this bridge, which at some point they might try. And especially Motostrelki 90 have the RPG-7 VR, which has a very good AP destruction. So anything up to a super heavy that comes across that bridge is going to take a very high-end RPG to the face, and will most likely die to it. He also has these BMP-3s. At this range they won't do that much, and since they are, well, they're basically small HGM platforms in their own respect, I would split these things up, have one HGM over there or here, and one slightly further off to the right, for example there, so that if something comes across this bridge, you can first threaten it with a long-range missile from the BMP-3. If they keep going, if they somehow take out the BMP-3, they're going to run into your infantry. So this way you have a bit more bang for your buck, and the infantry that's in here currently is not really going to be serving any purpose, because if the enemy's already over here, then you're in a terrible spot as it is. T-55 AMVs also carrying the HGM, the Bastion missile, which is not quite the same as the Arcan. Its range is slightly less, at 2625 versus 2800. These guys I would be using as supports, in case that something crosses the bridge. Now he does have the one Plamia. Plamia has exceptional optics, so it's probably spotting virtually everything that's coming across. Now let's switch to neutral, see what the enemy team is fielding. Look at that. One Crotal down the middle. They are bringing in some reinforcements. Leopard A is 1+, and Wolverine, a couple of ferrets, but not much else. And they are making their way towards this position. Now these vehicles are VABs, and VABs are amphibious. Of course the Fuchs are slightly faster, but the point is they are amphibious. They could be floating across. Without any reconnaissance units on this end, you risk exposure to these units. They could either be swimming across and you'd have no idea, or they could be coming down the bridge and you probably still wouldn't have any idea. Because of course they're now concealed, and the Plamia is going out for a look. Plamia is actually extremely suited for spotting in this terrain. Oh, don't take it too far. Now at this point probably the Legionnaires got blocked by line of sight by the bridge. There they are again. Don't get too close, Legionnaires can reach you at 1,000 meters. There's the BMP-3s. BMP-3s do outrange the Legionnaires quite a lot, but you don't know what else they have in here, so be careful. If there's a tank in here, he could already have killed you. Talking of which, what we got here? That's the Wolverine. In case you're wondering, the Wolverine can be recognized by, and this is not easy to point out, these two tubes that you see over here in the dark. These are the AA missiles, and it's a triple launcher that you have over there, a triple squad. So those are the Wolverines. What we have here is a ferret, I think. It has that weird large vertical, or correction, large square launcher on top of it. Switch to neutral, see what's exactly going on. Exactly. Wolverine already died, the game just hasn't exactly rendered it yet. And the ferrets are using their swing fires to return fire on the BMP-3s. They probably won't get the kill, because the swing fire missile is far slower than the Arcan. But the Arcan was still reloading. There's another Arcan missile. Missed, unfortunately, and now you're done. There. That's because you also ran into a couple of tanks. This is tricky. This is real tricky. At the same point, your right flank is still wide open. So be advised to lock down that right flank. Otherwise, the enemy will do that for you. And this, of course, is, well, it's not preferable. Ooh, okay. He's immediately striking with an Su-27M. The thing that he struck was the ferret reconnaissance vehicle here. Now this is not a bad target, because you basically blind the enemy team by doing so. But the problem that you have is that you're risking a very high value plane, 200 points, for a reconnaissance vehicle only worth 45 points. Now, if you have 100% certainty that this is the only reconnaissance vehicle that they have, or the only reconnaissance unit altogether, then you could consider going for it, because you basically blind the rest of their forces. But you don't know about the rest of their AA. You don't know about the rest of their recon. There could be, for example, a sniper team over there, and you would never know. So sending in an aircraft like this carries a very, very high risk. And he got away with it this time. But I would be very reluctant to send out an aircraft this expensive, especially when dealing with a recon unit. And consider that these ferrets are not very heavily armored, so a couple of mortars and just a group of 2 mortars could be enough. Park those mortars somewhere in this little bit of woods here, so they have cover, and just keep hammering away at the ferret and, well, basically this front of the tree line. So you have a pretty good chance of hitting something. I have a unit coming in from Cartres. Over to the right there's the BMP-3. You can see that blue is now floating across with a couple of Vabs and a Fuchs Milan. These guys could have already done that quite a while ago. And while the infantry doesn't have too many places they can safely get out, that is if they are still filled with infantry, which I'm very much starting to doubt. I think he's just probing. Yep, the Fuchs Milan's even returning. I think he's just probing. So he's just using his empty transports as a bit of a lookout to see what's going on here. 1 or 2 of your T-55 AMVs on this end could have prevented that. They could have served as a deterrent. And so much so that the Vabs would have died the moment that they came into range. So say about there. That seems to be the right range. Now he's also... oh, there we go. There's the Nonas. So he is bringing in his mortar batteries. What is he firing at? Good seed run. Fat Grubber. Nonas are firing. This could be a problem. The Plamia is about to get detected by the Jupiter. Jupiters don't exactly have good optics, but a Plamia only carries medium stealth. Ooh, he's lucky there. Okay, he got him. Now, he's firing at these tanks with his mortars. These tanks are pretty heavily armored. They have 8 frontal armor, 3 to the side. So the HE splashes that they take from the mortars are not going to be that effective. They won't do that much damage. So be careful there. And something else here. If you have fired your mortars, the way that I usually do it that keeps them safe, or safer, is you click the unit, you right click on the unit that you want to attack, then you hold shift, and you immediately right click a different position from where they are currently. So you right click A as 1 plus, you hold shift and you right click there. And that way they fire their salvo and they move off, because now you haven't moved. And now a counter battery could easily find you. He comes in again with the Su-27M, takes out one of the Leopards, and this is where it gets tricky. He flies right over a Roland 3 and a Gepard. Now the Gepard isn't in range, but it could very well be. The Roland 3 managed to get one hit on him. Again, just to score 55 points. So again, very high risk here. Be careful with an SU-27M because you don't get that many. Seems like blue is putting up quite the air show. This is a good package, by the way. We have a Sea Harrier, which is going to knock down any kind of anti-air. We have a Kehu, which is going to try and pinpoint AA or whatever else they can find in case the Sea Harrier doesn't get it. And the Tornado is there to deter enemy fighters from coming in close to this entire group. So this is a nice strike package that the An has going here. There we go, I took out one group. And the Sea Harrier doesn't find anything, so he's evacing. There's the Osa, now going active. Tornado doesn't get hit at all. And the Kahu just moves off. Now let's switch back to neutral again. Because these Vabs are here, and they also have a Tiger pushing forward. If this Tiger would really go on the offensive, it could fly all the way around, killing Constantine, killing Ivan, done. Then you'd only have one command vehicle left. Instead of saving up the points, I'm not sure if that's what he is doing, but he might be. Instead of saving up the points, make sure you get a CV into Gregory, because what's happening right now is that the enemy team has more income than you do. And more income means more forces that they can deploy. And that they very well might deploy. Also, putting up a BMP-2 OBR 1986 and a BMP-3 on flank defense in Jot is rather expensive. Especially considering that you're not just paying for the vehicle, you're also paying for the infantry, which won't really have a role if you park them just out there. This is 40 points plus Motorstrucky 90, 15 points, so this is 55 points, making it rather expensive. A recon vehicle and let's say a cheap AA unit could be enough. And that way, maybe with the backup of a helicopter that you keep over here as a strike response force, you could have enough in your defenses. Because right now we can see that we have a helicopter or two coming around, one which seems to be carrying a recon group. By the looks of it, I'm thinking Fern Speyer. They probably don't have a clue what's going on. If you have an open flank like this and you're still working on reinforcing it and you have an aircraft, you could send it out on patrol behind your lines, here. This way the Su-27M would find the enemy helicopters. It might not be able to kill it because it only carries long-range anti-air missiles. It won't even lock onto the helicopters at short range. The main gun, of course, could work, but it's tricky. But at least you'd know what's going on, and you'd be able to do something against it. Now he's using the Nonas by the looks of it, firing at the Vabs here. The Vabs, I believe at this point, may have dropped off their infantry. Okay, you're lucky that they haven't yet, but they could have easily done that. We have a Fox Milan with recon infantry over on the right flank. And in the south, these helos are definitely making a push. And they are getting in without being detected. He has no idea about these helos. Make sure you keep this flank locked down, quickly. Or the enemy team will sneak in stuff like this. And once they have a spotter behind your line, especially a Fern Speyer, those things are difficult to locate. You don't particularly need to dedicate a huge amount of resources to it, but they're just going to be a headache for you. And moreover, they're going to keep your attention away from the front lines, which is the real problem. Now we have a couple of Legion 90s coming closer with their VAB 2013s. This is why I want to capture these buildings quickly, because these VABs and their Legionnaires could easily make it across without being challenged. Also, at this point, the T-55s should be pushing forward, because you know what they are, you know what their range is, 1050, and you know that your tank at 2100 has far better range and can easily wipe out the Legionnaires. Whereas if you lose them towards this tree line, they are again going to be more difficult to find. Now in the back of the line we have a helicopter Which one? That's the 53G. Okay, this is actually rather nice. Because this guy is now advertising the presence of his infantry. He's just saying, hey, I dropped off my infantry behind your lines, and you may want to have a look there. That's the signal that he's sending to me. The safest option would be to try and sneak your way out along the edge of the map, making it much more difficult for me to detect him, so that I don't know that Blue 4 has spotters here. But what you can deduce from this is that this guy has not just dropped off infantry, but also what type of infantry. Because there's only really two types of infantry that use a reconnaissance or that use a transport helicopter that has that many chevrons or that high of a rank. And that's either Fernspeyer for the Germans, or it is Fallschirmjäger 90, again, Germans. I don't really care which one it is. Both of them are bad news. Fernspeyers are harder to detect, Fallschirmjägers are absolutely deadly. And of course they don't have a lot of cover, which would mean that Fernspeyers are more likely, since they have high stealth. But it is very much possible that he did not just drop off one group, but multiple. Now, we have Spatzgru over here on the defense. Spatznazgru is fantastic recon units. They can also go on the offensive, but they're just not going to be very useful over here. Because the enemy, at this point, is not that likely to risk an encounter on this end. Also, be careful that the Tiger comes with stingers. And this is exactly what happens if you don't exactly know what the enemy weapon system is. Now, I don't blame Cartres because he's new to the game. But always try to find out exactly, okay, what is this thing armed with? So just hover over it, press I, and then you're going to find out exactly what weapon systems it carries and what those things can do. Anyway, the Spatznazgru, rather expensive of an investment here. We could be easily shielding this area with just a bit of a BRDM2, in case you really want to know. Of course, the BRDM2 would be much better served over there, because now you're going to cover this area, a bit of a spotting bubble. If you'd have it over here, you're spotting this bubble, but then basically your sensor range or your spotting range extends pretty much like that. Whereas now you have a gap in your lines, because you still don't have a reconnaissance unit here. And this means that the enemy can and potentially will fly by here. Now, if there was an airborne push with a bunch of helicopters coming through, you'd be in trouble. Wow, okay. KA-52 came over. I'm thinking that Cartres fielded the KA-52 here to have a look at the Tiger. Tiger's already running off. In the meanwhile, the KA-52 briefly flew over the Fernspeyer, even managed to kill one of them, but the other guy is still alive. And I'm not seeing any response units going in. Moreover, we have another 53G coming in. It's not the same guy, it's a different helo, because the other 53G got taken out by the IL-102. So what is he moving off to? What's his plan? Now, take note that this thing is unarmed. It cannot actually go on the offensive against you, but it can relay spotting information. Like that. So at least now they know where their fobs are, and they were actually getting pretty close to detecting the CV there. So be very careful. Now, I'm not sure if Cartres spotted it, but there was a brief blue blip when he flew over the Fernspeyer with his K-52. So he could know that there is some sort of unit behind your lines. And I know that if you're just getting started with the game, there are so many things to pay attention to, so it is very difficult to keep your eyes on absolutely everything. But at some point, you're going to develop this habit of looking at your minimap every couple seconds and going, hey, there shouldn't really be a blue blip back here. So let's have a look exactly what that is and make sure we kill it before something manages to spot whatever I have. And it looks like blue just got lucky there with an artillery strike. Cluster run, managed to get the CV. And now they only have 3 CVs left, 1, 2 and 3. The BTR 70K is already moving back, and Constantine's moving back. Fat Grubber is saying my CV will be here in 2 minutes. So he's basically telling him not to keep moving his CV. So try and pay attention to things like these as well, because now you're also losing the income from Constantine. And yes, you cannot spend it at this point, but it is income that you can spend later on. Now the K-52 has eyes on the VAB 2013. It just doesn't really have any good weapon system to engage it with, because the best weapon system, and actually the only weapon system that they have, is the 2A42, so the autocannon, which has the exact same range as the F1 weapon that is mounted on the VAB. So by the time that the VAB is going to start shooting back, which fortunately it didn't right here, you have a very good chance of having your unit get attacked as well. ECR managed to take out his AA gun there, so his Tunguska is out. A couple of reinforcements coming in, Stollies. Very high veterancy Stollies as well. These things are amphibious, and by the looks of it, they are going directly across the water. They're just completely ignoring the bridge. And this is where the T-55s may come in useful. At this point though, you know that they don't really have any ATGMs that you can see, so you may as well want to push up with these tanks right now. Because the moment that these things reach your shores, they might offload their infantry, whereas if they go down now... By the way, he just killed the recon unit over here, I think. Did he? Yep, they got him. If they drop off their infantry right here because they die, they immediately have the infantry die as well. So right now, you're in much, much more trouble. And there's his vehicle getting detected, the Plamia. Plamia's out. This is going to cost you a lot of reconnaissance. Conqueror's firing. T-55's firing. Getting 1 kill. Oh, 35 points inside. Thank you very much. What were these guys ferrying? Royal Marines? Or SAS? Either of which is not too likely. SASR. Okay. Well, there's that. See, if you could have pushed forward with your tanks, and you didn't really need to go that far, the SASR would all have drowned in there. Despite the fact that these guys are probably trained at swimming, Wargame doesn't quite see it that way. So these guys would have perfectly drowned before they had any kind of chance of getting foot aground, and you would be wasting 70 points basically by firing 1 shot. And then of course you get the points for the vehicle, but that really isn't the important part here. Now you gotta kill these guys quickly, but he just lost his reconnaissance, so he cannot see the infantry. Now we can see them, thanks to the medium optics on the T-55. T-55s are doing a decent amount of damage. These guys are not. They haven't fired any rounds. They fired 2 bastions, but that's it. Make sure you push these guys forward faster, because they might get attacked. Or sorry, they might, I'm seeing something here, get attacked. They might do something useful, such as suppress the infantry before they get close with their Carl Gustav M3. Kahu comes over, wipes out one of the T-55s. Luckily we have more. Do we have anything else we can field? Yeah, the Nonas. Nonas could also be used for an artillery suppression. If you want to do that, make sure that you fire the Nonas not where these guys are, so don't right click on the unit, because then it's going to fire at the position that the unit occupies now. But then again, with aim time and travel time with the shell, the unit will have moved by the time that your shell actually lands. So make sure you click the unit and then you click, for example, for this SASR group right about here. And this is something that is coming down to feel much more than it is science. Yes, you could science the shit out of this and try to exactly extrapolate what the movement speed is and where they would be. But I generally don't find that I have the time to do that. So make sure you just fire your artillery a little bit further than where they are now, and you will easily wipe them out. There's one. SASR firing again, or moving, and T-55s, wipe them out. I'm not exactly sure what I think it was the on here was up to, but this was a pretty unusual push in the sense that just 6 transports weren't that useful. They were given very, very little, if any, chances of survival by just pushing across the water and hoping to make it towards this position. Unfortunately, as not Tunguska, this one does have its gun turned off. There's also a Strela standing by, and not a moment too soon because we have gunships coming in. He marks it with a defensive marker, like, hey, there's something coming in here. A couple of gunships moving up. Now, these gunships are interesting units because they have heat rockets. Heat rockets, in case you're not familiar with them, always do some damage. They cannot target infantry because they don't have an HE value. They don't have anything with HE power there in the middle column. They do have AP damage, and this means that they will always do some damage to tanks, starting at a damage of 2. So you can kill a super heavy with these things. That will happen. Now, let's see what he has over here. Matsuki 90, BMP3. Yeah, this still needs more reconnaissance and an AA unit. If you can, capture this building, potentially this one, and that one. That way you have a good command line of sight, or capture this one, put a fire support vehicle or a tank there and an AA unit there. And that way you have a good vision and good defense over that bridge. At this point, that is still possible, because the enemy has not fielded anything to defend these transports. They have not fielded anything in this bridge, which is what I would do, or I would try to secure this town so I can easily get more units across. And moreover, have a look at what the enemy team does. They only have 1 Roland. They have 1 HG Milan F3, which, I might add, is not in a very good position, because the Milan F3 can only fire if they have line of sight to about here. The next, that's the only thing that they have, otherwise they're going to look at the Fliegerfaust and not have line of sight. They don't have any direct engagement infantry, so use your Motostrelki and easily push out these Milan F3s, and then poof, command vehicle. And moreover, fly over to Boris with a helo. Fly all your way around. And you have a pretty good chance of making your way there. Let's see what else he's fielding. A couple of more T-55. We have a BMP-T coming in. The BMP-T, I believe, was a response to the SASR, but of course it took a while for this thing to actually arrive. Scratchet, Strela, another Strela going to the left. I don't want to comment on Fat Grubber too much today. That's not really the aim of this video. Try to get a CV into this zone, because you're still missing income. And that income could become vital later on. Now let's have a look at what Blue's doing. Helicopter group. Cartres has spotted that and has marked it. So this is again the on. What would he like to do with his helo group? Because there isn't really that much that he can do. So he speed it up slightly. Because there doesn't seem to be that much going on at the moment. He's fielded another Plamium. Now, if you want to make sure you have a reconnaissance unit here that can spot and stay undetected, you could go with a sniper VMF team. This is a sniper team that has exceptional stealth versus the medium stealth on this one. And if you disable the weapons, the only way that they're going to detect it is if they get real close, which is not all that likely. Looks like we have some more reinforcements from the on covering this position. A couple of Falcons. A ferret there. Oh, Yak comes in. What's the Yak going to drop? Napalm? Bombs. Okay. What point exactly did that serve? Always try to think, okay, what's next? Because what happens now is that you manage to get a couple of vehicles here. What's next? Are you going to push into this area? Are you going to draw attention here so you can attack somewhere else? What's next? What's your next move? If you try and keep that into your thinking at all times, then it's going to make more sense. It's going to be a more coherent strategy instead of just trying to snipe a unit here and there, try to get a kill left and right. Make sure you keep pushing or keep orchestrating your attacks on one end. And if you find that your aircraft gets shot down, it would not be in your best interest to send another one. Even, let's see, can he even see something here? Yes, he can see something here. He can see the Falcons. So you basically know that you're flying an aircraft which is very, very bad at getting out quick. Speed 600. Has almost no ECM, so it cannot defend against missiles. You're sending it onto 2 AA guns and a tank. The tank won't be affected, the AA guns will. And the missile, unfortunately, narrowly misses it. Wow, he actually got the tank. Gotta say, that's surprising. I thought he wouldn't do that much damage to it. So he got a few more points there than I would have expected. So, yeah, that actually worked out pretty well. IL-102 comes in as well from Fat Grubber. What is he trying to bomb? Because this thing drops a load of heavy ordnance, plows through whatever they had left, which, well, wasn't that much to begin with. What they have achieved, by the way, is that blue has no reconnaissance unit down the middle. So that's definitely nice, because it means that now you could, if you wanted to, push in here without really being detected. And especially with a almost complete lack of reconnaissance on this end, actually a complete lack of reconnaissance on this end, you could pretty easily push in. You just got to coordinate that. You got to coordinate with your teammates saying, hey, I'm going to push in here. Can you do a couple of bombing runs? Or I'll send my yaks out. Can you do your IL-102 and then I'll push in with tanks. Talking about pushes, we have a very big push coming in. A couple of looks for scouts. Leclerc, 2A5. Another Leclerc. Leopard 2. Leopard 2, Leopard 2. Fuck ton of Crotals. Gepard, Rolands. How are they going to defend against this? This is going to be interesting. Here comes the IL-102. That's their best bet at this point. At least to slow it down. Ooh, okay. The Su-27M took out a 40-point unit. That was one of the Luke's reconnaissance units. It's not a bad target, but you have far more valuable and much more dangerous targets coming up, such as the Leclerc or the 2A5. As a bit of an advanced tip, try to have these things come in from the side. Because if you fly right onto your target, and the thing does carry 4 missiles, of course, so it has plenty of missiles to fire at, you're going to run into the frontal armor, which is 21. If you come into the side, you're only going to encounter 7 frontal armor on the Leclerc and 9 on the 2A5, which is still not enough to block the missile's armor. To block the missile, it doesn't have enough armor, sorry. So try to fly that thing out to here, then pull a sharp turn left and come in like that. Engage the tank from the side, and you will magically see it disappear. This is going to be an interesting bombing run. I think that just wiped out most, if not all, of the AA. Crotals, a lot of dead Crotals. Lots of dead Crotals, I might add. That was a good bombing run. Now you still have a load of tanks here. If you are looking at this many tanks, especially of this quality, 2A5, Leclerc, Leopard 2, and you know that you may have just taken out most of their AA, you could also come in with a helicopter, or 2, or 3, depending on how many and what quality you can afford at that point. Because one tank against this horde is going to be painful. It will never survive. It just doesn't have the firepower, it doesn't have the armor. So you gotta do something that's, basically the rock, paper, scissors model. So that you don't come in with just one tank, but you come in with helicopters. Because these guys might get still wiped out by seed, or a bombing run, or something like that. And then you can easily wipe these things out without risking your tanks. And these things are expensive. T80UM, 170 points. The tanks are moving up. This is, by the way, a concerted effort. Or is it? Nope, it's not a concerted effort. This is one player. There's his T80UM down. There's the helos going down. He's putting up a help marker. This is, by the way, Blue 4 who's putting up a help marker. Su-27M flies over, takes out one of the AA units. Again, prioritize the super heavies. Leclerc to A5. That's what you need to go for here. Ooh, can you make it out alive? Yes, he made it out alive. Su-25T comes in, wipes out another AA gun, flies out. Roland seem to be reloading. Spetsnaz Gru are now going to have a bit of a hard time here. Leclerc's still alive, taking some damage. Conqueror's M fires, hits the Leclerc on the front. Leclerc dashes into cover. What do we have coming in? T-55 AMV, not the right unit. I want to see an Mi-28, a KA-50. Something like that will really make a difference. Now it looks like the An might have realized that the AA units have mostly been killed off, and as such is going to start countering any helicopters that might come in with his own aircraft. He did lose a Tornado F3 there, thanks to the MiG-31M. MiG-31M is an interesting choice. It doesn't have very accurate missiles. They are very long range, which on a map like this can work. But if you're going on a smaller 2v2 map or a 1v1, then consider using a different unit. Because the MiG-31M is very good at long range, or well, maybe decent at long range, but it does not dogfight at all. It does not have any short range missiles, it turns like a brick, and it doesn't carry a gun. So make sure you only keep this thing at maximum range. There's more aircraft in the skies. We have just about 30 seconds left on the game. And by the points, I'd say that Red 4 is going to win sheerly on points. There we go. That was a French Leclerc going down. There's another missile coming in. Managed to damage, I think, the 2A5 only slightly. Bombing run comes in. IL-102. Oh, this is going to hurt them a lot. Yep, there we go. That's the last points. Now, Cartres did make positive, so for his 7th multiplayer game, congratulations. Making positive is not easy. So well done there. Just keep in mind that it's going to take some time to learn all this stuff. I pointed out pretty much everything that I saw here. And this was not so much to criticize you, but you asked for my commentary, so here it is. And stuff like this is just going to take time to learn. It is not something that you pick up after watching a couple or a dozen videos. They will help, but of course the best experience is watching your own gameplay. Having a look at what you have fielded, what you could have been fielding, and what the enemy team was fielding against you. Next time, try to do one of those sneaky reconnaissance runs like they did from your own side. Can you sneak in reconnaissance infantry to the enemy team? And if so, where would you drop them off? How would you use them? Have a look at your deck. Which units have you been using? Which units have you not been using? And how could you adjust the units that you have to suit your deck or your preference or your playstyle a bit better? Those are the things that are going to help you improve. And those are the things that I would recommend that you do. If you, as a viewer of the video, have any further tips for him, let me know. Yes, the enemy team did make some mistakes here and there. They didn't play expertly, which I think in this situation was very forgiving. But of course, if you come up against someone who has more experience in the game, the outcome could have been vastly different. It could have been much, much more of a seal club. So that aside, what advice would you have for Cartres over here? Any advice is very much appreciated. And again, shitposts will be removed. Stuff like that just doesn't have any value. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it helped you improve your own gameplay. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and otherwise I'll see you soon for the next video.